Welcome back to another episode of Hobby Time in the Murder Basement. Today, I get to sit down and talk with Courtney from Figuratively Speaking Minis. She is a commissioned miniature painter and a content creator whose main home base is Instagram. We have a fantastic talk. Thanks for sticking around. Like, share, subscribe. Have a nice day.
You did it.
We did it. Life is good.
Excellent work.
Life is good. Now, we're gonna have my OCD thing happen. I realized that I have a couple weird tics that I always have to open up and make sure that the computer is actually recording because I'm using OBS to record, and so now it's like you ever get up and you're like, I gotta go and run to the store, and you get around the block and you think that you didn't lock your front door, so you have to go back and check that your front door is locked. It's that, only it's recording.
Well, just imagine how many conversations you could have and then not record it if you don't double check, right?
It's exactly right. And let's just say I have done this for many years outside of the Highway Time in the Murder Basement, and we have accidentally not recorded episodes, 2-hour long podcast episodes, and you're just and so it used to be that we would have redundant devices recording all the time, and as much as I would like to do that now, I can't live in that much fear.
No, it is what it is at the end of the day.
Very true. Very true. I'm guessing you have listened to some of my episodes, so you kind of understand the flow. Yeah. Good.
You've interviewed some of my favorite people, so I'm just super thrilled.
Well, who's your favorite people?
Miniac. I've watched him for so long. And he was the one that basically taught me how to paint when I first started. I YouTubed all of his videos and watched all of them, deep dive, studied it, and then when I would be practicing, I'd follow along with him, and I'd be oh, I'm just gonna be painting like him one day, and so.
Well, his early videos are it's hard to understate how important they are to, I think, a lot of people in the hobby. They were incredibly important for me as well, because it's not. I love the Hobby Cheating series, and once I started getting into painting more in depth, I got way into Vince's stuff. But for somebody who loved punk and metal, I was no, this is the kid. He's got the goods.
It's so funny because I'm not punk or metal at all. I mean, look at me. But that little taste of it every once in a while. Paint more minis, and I'm I'm so cool.
Busted out my my old school paint more minis cutting mat. Nice. I've been using it for so long that you can't even read the Miniac logo on there anymore. I busted it out on Twitch the other day. I was remember, people, paint more minis.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
Oh my God. We have I think one of the coolest hobbies in the world, especially for nerds. My wife instantly was this is way cooler than what I thought it was going to be. As it's a diverse group of people doing really, really cool things, and it's so much more altruistic than almost any other hobby I've ever been in. And she was just really surprised, and it's they're all they're either really young or they're in their 50s or late 40s 50s. There's these two generations coming together right now, and it's really inspiring. And out of all the hobbies that she's ever seen me go in and out of, this is the one that she's so happy that I found it. She's happy that people want to help the show and help be a part of that, because it's so easy to be isolated and locked behind are social networks where like it's
Yeah.
all just this kind of this weird walled garden, and
Mhm.
sometimes like the walled garden doesn't cross over to the other platform, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because
Mhm.
Courtney from Figuratively Speaking Minis,
That's a
welcome to the
mouthful.
murder basement. We're doing this. If any of you haven't seen her work, uh, her kingdom is Instagram to the max. Like, you do things on other platforms, but
Yeah.
it feels like Instagram is the home of
Yeah.
figuratively speaking.
It is the central hub. Yeah.
So how did Instagram become that for you?
Well, that's a good question. I started my account a couple years ago. Um, 2018. Yeah, it's 2020. Yeah, a couple years ago. I decided to I started looking at YouTube videos, and I saw that people had an Instagram handle. So I was like, okay, I'll go check that out. But I didn't have the app, so I downloaded the app. Then you check out the Instagram people's handles and whatnot. And you're like, okay, oh, look at how many likes and like look at how many people are on here. Oh, that's cool. I should post some of my content too and just, you know, put it out there that I paint as well and see what happens. Or just kind of I also wanted a photo album to where to store my photos of the
Sure.
things that I was painting because I didn't want to use Facebook because because the hobby's a little different. My family and friends kind of don't know what it is. And so if I posted it there, they'd be like, "What is that?" And I'd be like, it's a two-headed ogre that is murdering a village person. So it's fine." So Instagram was kind of nice because it has that little niche pocket of the internet. So I started there. I just thought, okay, if all of these YouTube creators are on Instagram, I should go on Instagram and check it out.
So you didn't have an Instagram before you started figuratively speaking minis? You didn't like convert a personal account?
Personal account. I have a personal account,
Okay.
but so I was like, okay, yeah, and I was like, here's my kids and here's my cat and all that kind of stuff. But going on YouTube and seeing that all of these creators had all of their miniatures on their albums and their posts and stories and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I should try that too.
See, I never would have considered doing a miniature specific Instagram. For me, like my Instagram was like literally like it has been my personal account, it has been my band account, and now it is my podcast YouTube account, and it's something that I like it's whatever I'm doing right now. And
Yeah.
so like it I never would have thought to split it up because I think my family is just at the point now where they just accept that I'm the weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of my friends and family are like, okay, that's just her thing. That's the thing that she decided to do. I'm like, yeah,
Yep, yep. Well, and have they been supportive of that though? As like, have they seen the
totally.
things that it's done? Cool.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. It's definite conversation starter. That's for sure. They're like, so I saw that thing that you posted on Facebook because obviously I've branched out everywhere. And so they're like, I saw that thing. What was that? And you explain to them, and then they're like, I had no idea there's even this world of miniature painters. And I'm like, well, have you ever walked through the mall and seen that weird, like, game store, but you don't really know it doesn't sell real board games, it sells war games.
Yeah, with
And
the
they're like,
logo from
yeah,
the
we never figured out what,
1980s that they haven't
yeah,
changed it in forever. They're like, what is this thing?
right, like that's Games Workshop. That is tabletop wargaming. And they're like, oh.
Oh, 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 and as they're just like turn off, they're like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they've had enough and then they stop talking to you about it.
So, how long did it take for your Instagram to actually start picking up steam?
You know what? I was thinking about it the other day, knowing that we were going to talk about this, and I was kind of going back through my memory about how it started, how it got picked up, the momentum, and how it got the momentum gained. I would say it kind of started picking up when I started using hashtags to explain what I was doing.
Sure.
Hashtags are huge. Hashtags are the thing that connects all the dots. So before, I would just post a description of the figure that I painted, what board game it came out of, and that would be it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, nobody's seeing these. Like, I don't think these are reaching anybody. And so I would go on the more popular people that I would follow, and I would see their descriptions, and I would see all of those blocks of hashtags. So one day I decided to copy and paste those hashtags on one of my posts, and it got seen. It was seen for like the first time. And I started kind of including a little bit more of my personality. And then some of these wonderful people have been following me since the beginning, and they were the first ones that liked those posts. And then they started sharing my posts and sharing like what I was working on and commenting back to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. And I started seeing it go from 5 followers to 20 to 100. And then I started seeing 500, 1,700, 1,000, like, like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Like it's grown exponentially over the last 2 years. Actually, I would say quite rapidly. Not as rapidly as some, but based on the content that I put out, I think it's quite an appropriate trajectory. So
Sure. Well, and it seems like this year, I'm trying to remember where you're at when I first saw you. Um, I want to say that you were probably like close to 5,000 or something, and right now you're sitting just
yeah,
shy of 6,500, and and it
yeah,
just seems like you are on an exponential curve at this point.
yeah. It's slowed down quite a bit just because I have not been pumping out as much miniatures. I've slowed it down like a bit,
Well, you only
but
just moved, so
I
like
know.
life gets in the way, right?
I know. You know what? Just as an aside, from September to October, I got into a car accident. I moved houses. My husband started a new job. I'm having surgery tomorrow. And like my kids started school in a pandemic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this is enough. I think, you know what? This is enough for today.
But yet you still manage to do like daily video posts on there and like things
Yeah.
like that that again another thing that I never would have thought of.
Yeah. And so my niche kind of started growing when, like I wanted to do it more of a vlog style, because on my personal account, I found it to be really engaging to see these people that I really admired and followed. I wanted to know what they were doing during the day. Like, how do you function? Like, how do you do this? It was mostly like workout videos and things like that. And so for hobbying, I was like, what are people working on? What is their process? I want to know this. And if I want to know it, maybe other people see me and want to know that too. Because also, when I first started this account, I was brand new at this, brand new. So it was kind of cool for me to document my learning process because I also wanted to say, hey, we all make mistakes. We're all human. This is the process. You don't get this good or that good overnight.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't happen. So this is the process.
So you've only been painting minis for about 3 years?
Yeah, about 2.5 years, just under 3 years.
I'm telling you, 2018 was the magic year because that's when I started. And like, there's so many painters that started around the same time. Min Max Mini started. They literally, I think, within weeks we started.
He was one of the first that I followed. Oh my gosh. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lady that does this. This is amazing. She was one of the first. And I sent her a message one time. I sent her a message and I said, I really admire your work. And she messaged me back. And like, when you get all like excited and like fangirly, I totally did that. And I adore her. She's one of the nicest people ever.
She's so sweet, and
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say that I did not know that she was a woman for like almost a year of us like messaging. And like I get those weird like insomniac things, and so I'm like messaging at like 2 in the morning, and like I'm like, and she would
Yeah.
message back because sometimes she is the same, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be like messaging married women at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't care the context. It's just like, I don't want to be that
Yeah.
creep. And she's just like, no, you were always cool. It was all good. I'm like, thank God, because if I ever would have made her feel uncomfortable, I don't know if I'd be able to forgive myself because, again, this hobby is so accepting, but like some of it feels a little fragile. Like, you don't want to like make people feel uncomfortable or like run people off. And over
Yeah.
enthusiastic people like me have a habit of doing that.
Yeah. No, I totally, totally get what you're saying because some of the early followers that I had not engaged with people like that before, like on like a social media messaging type platform where it's like you're kind of public, but you're not really public.
Right.
And so, but actually, over time, some of those people that messaged me early on have become some of my greatest friends. I'm super like blessed to have people that have stuck with me and that I've like formed these bonds with. And we send each other international packages, and here's a care package, and here have these minis, and it's turned into something quite spectacular. And that's why like I mean, some people give off the creepy vibe and you just don't go that way, but some of them are just such gems. They're just gems of people, and like the friendships that I have now because of it. I'm like, "Oh, this is fantastic."
And for so much stuff based around like war and like visceral stuff, like there are so many really emotionally sensitive human beings, and
Oh, yeah.
and some people who I think are way more emotionally adept than they even know. And so
Mhm.
like it is like seeing a whole new side of nerd where like
Mhm.
it isn't like there is the nerd rage there, but it isn't that isn't what you find most of the time, especially on the painting side of this. Like,
Yeah.
we are all extremely aware, creative human beings, and it feels special to find a group of people that you can message something to and know that they're probably close to where you are mentally. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, it is. Oh, totally. And the camaraderie that you have, and the joy that you have with sharing something that you're excited about with people that understand. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I nailed the skin tone on this miniature." And somebody, you've never met them in person, but they're like right there with you. They're so excited and they're encouraging you. And like it's just such a beautiful thing. I absolutely adore it. The community that is within this Instagram app, it's incredible to see. It's an amazing tool to bring people together.
Yeah, and like if you would have asked me, I would have thought that there would have been a ceiling on how many people would have been like excited to look at minis on Instagram. And I think that's probably one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I never like I always wanted to keep my photos there, and like I use like 5 tags. It's like miniatures, mini painting, painting minis, creature
Yeah.
caster, monument hobbies, pro krill
Yeah.
paint. It's like
Yeah.
just like my three that I got, like my auto select go into it. I'm like, yep, this is the ones that I'm doing. Um,
Yeah.
but I never would have thought about like actually trying to grow an audience there until like I started like I think I found Lass Hammer, and
Mhm.
like I think she just broke 10K or something like that. I was like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? Like I was just like, how 10,000? No. And then I realized that there's like Sam Lynn's. I looked at his and he's like over 20,000 now. I'm just like,
Yep.
what is happening here? This is amazing.
It's incredible because it's such a it's not like you're looking at canvas art. This is like I feel it's just so much more interesting. It's you're like it's a figure, it's a dynamic piece that has movement, and it's drawing people in, and I think more people like that. And I like that it's kind of in a way nostalgic, and it's gameplay, and it's a bit of this and a bit of this, and you're going to get all sorts of people looking at these weird little things. Like
Right.
even I look at random accounts that create like polymer clay food and things like that. I'm like, this is fantastic. And it's just what a weird thing to think that that's people want to look at that.
Got like an uncomfortable amount of dollhouse people that I follow now, just because I'm like, it's so good. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And YouTube videos of people like, yeah, putting together like paper houses and doll houses and miniature food, and oh my gosh, they're so talented.
It keeps on. Every time I think I've found the bottom, I realize that I'm not even close. Like there is
Hmm.
so much, and then like you break through, and then there's another level, and you're like, no way. Like this couldn't get any weirder and cooler, and then it
Yeah.
does. And like so like right now, one of my newest obsessions is this hashtag of turnip 28, which basically takes like old Napoleonic like historical battles, and then it
Yeah.
like makes them look like they've grown from the ground, so they have like roots and stuff coming off of them, and like it's basically somebody who wants to like speed paint an army and get
Yeah.
really weird with it, because like there's nothing. The time consuming part is probably building the army. The rest of it's like, how dirty can you make it? And I
Yeah.
love it. I love it so much. And it seems so antithetical to someone who wants to get better and push themselves at painting.
Yeah.
And it makes me realize that, like, and this is going to sound super egotistical, but like, what's his name? Now I can't pull it. Picasso
Hmm.
mastered every form of art until he got to the point where he's drawing like a 6 year old child,
Yeah.
and it said that he had painted like something like 10,000 paintings before he learned to paint like a child, and that is what really got him famous. And it makes me
Interesting.
realize that this miniature hobby has an artistic expression that I don't think has yet been fully realized. And when I
Right.
see things like you, and one of the first pieces that I really saw you working on was a nice like diorama base that had lots of things going on it, and lots of, your use of color was great, and you were,
Oh, thank you.
like saturated when you needed to be, desaturated when you didn't. You had this like whole story that you were putting into this little tiny base, and
Yeah.
that's something that you leave up to the audience to start to wrap their head around what's going on there. And I was just like,
Yeah.
this these are the directions that this hobby needs to go, because I think
Hmm.
that's going to be the thing that more people pay attention to, because like beholders are cool as hell, but
Yeah.
like a beholder doesn't tell the story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely fun to add that story to whatever you're painting, creating, and all that kind of stuff. And I think people really respond to that. And I'm going to give you an example. One time, like I was painting a commission and I was just painting and I was just doing it for the money, and I could feel it. I could feel it. It was all right. It was good. It was tabletop quality.
Yeah.
Perfect. Done. But then I was like telling my followers, I was like, like I just don't feel good about it. I just want to paint something that I feel good about, that I'm just gonna put myself into. And I did. And I put myself into this, I don't know if you saw the kipping, but the owl face and like the bat wings.
Oh, I don't
Um,
know if I did. Like, I've looked at a lot of
oh
your stuff, but this thing
yeah.
is
It was big, and I literally poured everything I had into this figure and this base and this diorama. And because I put into so much emotion in it, and I put every ounce of like what I think I have talent wise into it, I just tried so hard, and it got so much more attention. It just skyrocketed. And even Vince Venturella put it on his friggin' like YouTube thumbnail. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I think
okay.
that, like,
I do know
yes,
exactly what you're talking about. Yes, yes, yeah. No,
yeah,
I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, people love to see that. They love, and that's where I think the artistry comes into it. I think, some people are like, well, it's not really art because it's a thing that you bought to paint. And I'm like, I disagree, because I think if you're putting a piece of yourself into it, if you're putting emotion or passion or your patience and your time and your skill into this figure, that's art. That is a piece of you, and you are spreading more of that artistic energy around the world when people look at that. And using Instagram as a platform to do that, you're going to get like-minded individuals and they're going to see that and they're going to see the hours that you poured into that and they're going to applaud you for it because they understand. It's they understand the time sacrifice that got you there. And I think
Sure.
that's amazing.
Well, and I think that, like, I really like, where you're going with that, but I think that specifically in the piece that you're talking about, like, you did do the things to push it to that next level,
Yeah.
and like the people that I hear talking about miniature painting being art are not necessarily taking it to that step. Like
Mhm.
like my Space Marine is art. I'm like, well, Space Marine's blue,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
which is
And you know,
nice. It's a good color.
which is nice. Yeah. And but if someone wants to say, well, I'm an artist because I painted my whole army blue, I'd be like, yep, okay, yeah. But could you have taken it farther?
Sure, sure.
Right? Like I would maybe challenge them a little bit and say, yeah, yeah, like what you did was beautiful and you've accomplished a goal and it's nice aesthetically or whatnot. Like at what level are you at? And then are you considered an artist at that point? I do think so. I mean, you look at children and teenagers and they do the best that they can within their own scope and they like look at my art and you're like, yes, that you are creating art. You are putting yourself into this, and I applaud you for it.
I absolutely applaud people for it. Whether or not it'll end up in like MoMA is like that's once Sam Lens ends up in MoMA, I'll be like, we've made people.
Yeah,
We you said we made it.
it's getting there because like honestly, some of those European those especially in Spain and like the Ukraine and England and I mean the United States, like what they're creating is I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
And their use of colors to portray a story on the skin of like a demon, you're like, it's mind blowing. It's
yeah.
beautiful. It's incredible.
Well, and overseas they come from a much more historic art background when they are I mean it's instantly apparent when you start looking at like their skin tones. You're like, oh, this is a traditional painter who's doing it on a three-dimensional piece. And that was like my first thing when I saw shoshi. I was like, oh shit, someone is like doing traditional painting
Yeah.
on silly toys. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is cool. And like I think unfortunately that some of the problem is like they become self-important and they forget to have fun. There's so much of it that just
Yeah.
seems fucking miserable, and you're like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah. And
we
that's
should be
the
having more
unfortunate
fun with
part.
this.
That's what it comes down to. It's like, well, why are you doing this? If you're doing it to be miserable, well then that's not a life worth having. No, do it to have fun.
I
Like
mean, Jackson Pollock was a miserable person. He changed the world, so maybe they're right. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, so she's one of my favorite too. I've been following her for quite some time. When I found her, I was just ecstatic. I think she was painting some Kingdom Death at the time, and it just her color choices and her artistic eye and telling a story through light and shadows and warmth. I find her painting so warm and
Yeah,
inviting. It's just so eye pleasing. I really enjoy her stuff. Yeah.
yeah. It's the United States has some really interesting things happening, and like I'm waiting to see, like, do you remember the little vinyl dolls, the money dolls that came out? I'm waiting to see that audience get way deep into mini paint, because like that community did some insane stuff with this dumb doll. Like,
Yeah.
and even one of my friends who's now like painting minis, like he did like, I made a zombie, I did these things, and they're pretty good. And you're just
Yeah.
like, okay, like where was this hiding the entire time? I would
Yeah.
love to see people take that sort of blank canvas to game pieces, and it doesn't always have to be game pieces. That like the world of like resin is so incredible right now. We're like in
Yeah.
like a total renaissance for models.
Yep. Whenever you can 3D print anything in your own home, you're like, I think we're winning in this genre of life. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. Do you have a 3D printer?
Okay. I would really like to get one. I think it should be part of my arsenal in my office here. It should be right here, I think.
There is a place for one. I can
There's a
see
place
it.
for one. Yes, yep.
Uh,
It's
I
on my
will
list.
I will say, like, so I bought a 3D printer last year, thinking that this year was going to be a thing where, really my goal was I was going to 3D print a Titan, a Warlord Titan from Games Workshop, the big boy, um, because I'm never going to spend $2,000 on one of their models. I'm just not going to do it, especially for Forge World quality. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
But if I can print one out and make it and paint it up the way that I want to do it and get real weird with it and not feel like I am like hurting a $2,000 model,
Yeah.
I think it was going to be fun. Of which I like my curve on 3D printing was like, oh, I had a couple good ones, and then like I have had nothing but failures, and to the
Oh
point where it's like
no.
just wrapped up. And I pulled it out the other day. I was like, maybe I'll work with you, and I was like, no, I don't want to be mad all day.
No, gosh, no. They're so finicky. Like I still understand there's quite some science behind it. And it's like I'm I'm kind of like the person, well, I am the person that it's like, is the shelf off center? You know what? I'm just going to screw it into the wall anyways. We'll deal with it then. But with stuff like 3D printing, when it really matters, the ounces of resin and different things like that, I don't have the patience for it. So we'll see what happens.
Well,
I feel your pain though because it's finicky.
it's the like the software, and you auto place all of the supports, because after you've done a couple by hand and they just fail, you're like, okay, well, that didn't work, well, let me try it just auto and see where that fails. You're like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing anymore.
There is no troubleshooting I can do to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, like, and there is, but then I would have to go and hang out on, like forums. I will say that like the YouTube Creator Brain Trust, there's a bunch of people in there that do it, and they're all really sweet. And so like
Yeah.
a couple of people have offered to help me in the past, and I will eventually take them up on it. But if I didn't have that, I think I would probably just sell the print. Done with. Like, I don't really.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, you're right. There's a really good community. I think you and I are even part of one of those Discord channels that you could totally just, hey, how do I do this? And then somebody would help.
Yeah, that's where I think I first was found you. It's in one of Brent's, something like, which
Yeah,
was
Brent's Discord, I think. Yeah.
yeah, which was wild and cool to be able to, like, once you like sit down in a room like that, and you're like, there is like 10 of the top 20 YouTube creators sitting in here, and like they're friends. And you're like, huh,
Yeah.
this is weird. This is cool.
I know. And I'm like, how did I get here? Who am I
Yeah.
that I got accepted into this little club?
Well, yeah, you must have been hitting all the right things to catch Brent's eye, and he's like, because he's one of like, Brent does so much for this hobby that isn't in front of the camera, and I don't
Yeah.
know if anybody realizes it. He trolls Twitch all the time, just pops up in people's streams, and he's just like, only there for a second, just says hey, just wants everybody to know like life is good. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And he'll do that on Instagram. It's just
Yep.
like, this guy. Where do we deserve someone like Brent? I don't know. Like, it seems like he's too special.
I know. I kept tagging him in things because I would always watch his videos while I was painting, and it would be so relaxing because he's got such a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is just, I'm so every time I'd be like, I'm watching Brent's videos, like go check it out because that's the type of content that I want to put out is like the soothing, motivational, no judgment. So when I discovered Brent and started watching a lot more of his content, I was like, he's my people. That's why we're here. And
Right.
so him and I kind of, I think, bonded over that. And I kept tagging him. I think I just kept bugging him. He started following me. I was like, yeah, it worked.
Hey, like the squeaky wheel, like that's how it works, and you should never be ashamed of that, because literally nobody comes to your band shows if you aren't telling people about it. Like I always like equate what we do as content creators as like being in a band without band. So you don't have
Yeah.
to herd cats. You don't have to show up to gigs on time, because like literally it's you. You got this. You're in full control. But if you aren't like ringing that bell, hey, check me out. Look over here. You're losing most of what could make your career and your trajectory actually active. And it makes me wonder, like, why aren't people doing that, and why are they mad that other people are having success when they aren't doing that? Like, just do it.
I've been a part of several discussions about the whole Instagram user. How does that person get more likes and follows than this person? I mean, let's be honest here. There's a bunch of gender
it
issues with that as
it
well.
got a little toxic this summer.
It did. It really did. And, people have asked me before, they're like, how did you get 6,000 followers? I'm like, well, technically, I'm not even that popular because she over there has over 10,000. Like, let's be honest here. Like, I'm fairly mid range, and that's just fine for me. But, like, people have asked me about that. And it's a very interesting thing because you want to toot your own horn. And I think sometimes when you toot your own horn in the right way, it gets the attention. When you toot your horn in the wrong way, it gets attention.
Yeah.
It's a very finicky little industry here. And
Well,
you're right, it did get quite toxic over the summer, and it was quite sad to see that happen.
the difference
Um,
between, like, if a guy toots his horn wrong,
mhm,
nobody gives a fuck. They're just like, crickets. We don't want to deal with you. A
yeah,
woman, like, if anybody feels like they've crossed the lines, of like, let me tell you what you're doing wrong. And it's one of
right.
those things that I'm just like, fucking leave them alone, please. Like,
Yeah,
stop being like that. Like, and if it's something that was really bad, maybe like low key message, like, hey, did you really mean to do it this way? Like there are ways to do it, but the straight up, you're doing it wrong and you're a horrible person for doing it. There,
yeah,
there were so many things this summer that I was like,
mhm,
this is really sad.
yeah,
Like, fucking grow up.
yeah. Luckily, and fortunately for me, I have not encountered anything like that from my personal experience. But I've had friends that have had those encounters, and you have to tell those people who are like, well, she's a girl, she's showing cleavage, she's getting the likes, she's getting the follows, and she's not that good. And it's like, okay, okay, here we go. And
Strap
it's
it
like,
in. We're going.
yeah, because I mean, and at the same time, I can see the frustration because every once in a while I stumble across amazing artists and they only have 100 or 200 followers. And but at the same time, is that what they want? Because maybe they don't want to be, hey everybody, it's Courtney from Instagram. How's everybody's day today? They don't want to do that.
I love
And
it.
that's totally legit.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to engage to an audience, because this is what it is, you are putting on a show. If you're not going to engage with that show, then you are not going to develop the group count of followers that you want. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
People want to relate to you. They want you to sell them something. They want you, and that could be sell them an attitude, sell them a good time, sell them photos of your cleavage or your back or your foot, whatever your thing is. Um, you're selling something to them, and they want you to do that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's well, I wish I had more followers. Okay, you're right. Well, what are you doing
Yeah.
to get them?
I wish you had more followers too. Like, are you entertain us? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what are you
What are
doing?
you bringing to the table here?
Yeah,
What are
and
you
that
bringing to the table?
That's one of the fact that you understand that and it's you're cognizant of being an entertainer is huge, absolutely huge. It means that you are thinking about this in the same way that I am. I haven't done all these things because for only 6 months on this like content creation trajectory, which is like actually we're 8 months into it now. Oh my god, this year's almost over. Um,
Yeah.
the weird like I'm starting to finally see these through threads and like how like all you have to do like everywhere is a sweater with loose threads. All you have to do is pull them. You have to do is pull them. That's it.
Yeah.
They're there to be unraveled. Like so grab a thread and just pull it until you can like completely destroy a sweater and you will
Yeah.
have more followers. People
Yeah.
are there and they Instagram is like it's not political. It can be, but it's not. It is an apolitical platform where literally anybody can look at your stuff. And so it is about as close as it was to like say MTV in like the 90s where like they were trying to get everybody's attention on Total Request Live. Like it
Right.
reminds me of that era of entertainment where
Yeah.
we're all kind of fighting for the artist's attention and
Hmm.
also to be entertained by the artist at the same time. So it's a very
Yeah.
cyclical relationship and like that bell gets rang, they paint something new, you come back to the well, it's the same thing and every day you hope that you have an interaction with this person. And that's
Hmm.
something that I wish I would have thought about 5 years ago when I was doing a band that was actually like kind of working. I was like, I should have
Yeah.
been pushing it here
Yeah.
instead of like on Facebook where nobody gave a shit about me.
Right. And I find it's much more difficult to reach people on Facebook
Yeah.
uh, than Instagram. Uh, Instagram, for some reason, it's just the place that if you start a new business, this is where you go. And for me, figuratively speaking, minis is a business. You're not going to be seeing pictures of my life and my lifestyle and all this kind of stuff. You're going to see things related to my business, my hobby business.
Yeah.
And so that's how I treated it, and that's what you're going to get. And like this is where you're going to see like not advert. I don't do advertisements, but like I've done a couple collaborations with like a 3D print company. Like, hey, this guy sent me free stuff. I like it. It's nice free stuff. Do you want a coupon? Here, have your coupon.
Right.
But that's the business aspect to it. So yeah, it's a great place to kind of launch yourself, but you got to put in the work. There's an algorithm that you need to follow. There's tricks up the wazoo that you need to work your way around to try and boost those those follower counts.
Sure. Do you think that you would ever take your Instagram aspect of the business to the place where you are doing like sponsored Instagram content and like pushing products there? Is that something that you could see a
Mhm.
future of that, or is that just something where at this point it doesn't make any sense to do?
Um, I mean, I think every person aspires to get free things because
Yeah.
who
Oh,
doesn't
for
like
sure,
that?
for sure.
But like most of the time, like about 98% of the time, anything that I show product wise, I paid for. Like I'm testing it out.
Yeah.
And so if a company wanted to say to me, we want you to use these paints exclusively on your channel, I'd say no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that because I don't want to be pigeonholed and I don't want to be that annoying account that turned commercial and because that's just that's not my trajectory. That's not what I want to do. So you probably won't see that happen. But if I get a product that I like for free, I'll let you know.
Sure.
And then yeah, I've had more companies send me 3D printed items probably than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great. It's just a dude and his wife or a dude and his girlfriend.
Right.
And they're like, "Hey, can we send you this to look at and paint for us?" Yep. Yes,
Sure.
you can. And then it benefits them because I kind of put the word out for them, but it benefits me because then I'm now doing I didn't have to spend money to paint something to show people on Instagram or even practice a technique or whatnot. So that's probably where I'll probably stay on that road. But like I know there's been a bunch of affiliates and people getting I don't know what it's, yeah, affiliate. They get their affiliate links and they're I guess they are sponsored or whatnot.
Sure.
And it's cool and great. I thought that's what I wanted at one point. I was asking a friend of mine on Instagram. I was like, "How did you get this person and this person to give you affiliate links?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "You have 3,000 less followers than I do, and I'm surprised they didn't approach me." And she's just like, "I just asked them." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't really feel like asking them, so
Right.
okay, all right. Well,
Well, and that's the weird
it is
thing
what
of
it is."
the business side of this hobby, and I've had that too with a couple people, and I try. That is a really dark. That's the dark side spiral happening there when somebody else has something that you don't
Yeah.
have, and you're starting to wonder why. Like that's a
Mhm.
super dangerous game to be in because then it's no longer about what you have to offer. It's the jealousy of somebody taking away something from you,
Yeah.
and not that's not a good look
No.
anywhere.
And you're
But
not owed anything.
no, and you're definitely not owed anything. But
Yeah.
I will say that like I'm older than a lot of the people doing this right now, especially the people who are really pushing social media, just because social media is so much more that generation. Like it's just been part of them for forever, so they are just more
Yeah.
comfortable with the ask and putting themselves out there.
Mhm.
Where like it took me till I was 37 to feel like I'm a monumental affiliate, and I was like, Jason, I want to be part of this in any way that I can, and I'm asking like whenever you are ready for me, I am
Yeah.
here. Like please let me be a part of this. And it's the first time in my entire life I have asked. I have always sat back, the cool kid in the corner, sitting back
Yeah.
like this. They'll talk to me when they're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
No,
bullshit. Like
that's not
they
how it
never
works.
will
No.
because nobody wants the cool kid in the corner. They want the
Yeah.
person who's out there. They want the positivity. They want that interaction. And if you can't give that, like you're useless. You're
Yeah.
absolutely
There has to be some
useless.
kind of engagement, right? Like they don't want their product being used and not seen, right? Like
Right.
there is an engagement that has to happen. And like ooh,
Oh.
sorry, my camera just about switched for some reason. I don't know why. Um
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't think I'll ever say no to an affiliate link depending on if they wanted me to exclusively use their product. I don't know. I'd have to try it out.
Sure.
It's tough to say, like, because I feel in a way I've collected a group of people that I feel we all kind of share the same values and whatnot, and I don't want to try and sell them something that I don't think is worth their money.
Sure. No, I hear
I've
you.
taken that like responsibility. I'm just not going to do that. So yeah, it's interesting, but touching on the what we said about people thinking that they're owed something. People think, well, just because I posted a mini means I should be gaining followers. Just because I'm posting my Warhammer figures means I should be getting followers. And it's
Right.
like, well, no, that's not the case. That's not how this works.
Right.
You have to engage people. You have to be yeah, engagement, putting yourself out there, being interesting.
Yeah, the interaction between like it's so weird that a photo can be a call to action,
Yeah.
and that photo by itself isn't the thing that will get people to interact. Like you could take the best photos, paint the best minis. Like are you familiar with Benjamin Cantor?
The name rings a bell.
Metal AF minis.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
He has like 500 followers on Instagram, and he's one of the
Mhm.
best painters I think I've ever seen. Period.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
easily in the states, top 3, like
Mhm.
easily. and
Yeah.
I'm sitting back going like, why doesn't this guy have more followers?
Yeah.
And I got to talk to him a couple weeks ago, and like painting minis is his like it's his true hobby. It's his fun, relax, get zen time. Because he
Yeah.
does film stuff all. long. And so for him, it truly is that. Um, and making it a business was never part of it.
Hmm.
For you, two part question here. You have a
Yeah.
history of making your hobbies your businesses. And when did you decide that you were going to make a hobby business out of this?
Right. Yeah, no, this definitely started off as strictly hobby. This was like, I want to meet people that do this so that I have someone to talk to. I want to learn how to do this properly. I was just super into it. And the minute that it shifted gears into a business, was when people started requesting me to paint their stuff for money. And I said,
Um,
okay, is this something that I can do for money? Am I good enough to do this for money? And I felt I had enough encouragement in real life, people telling me and wanting to paint their stuff in like locally, that I decided I'm like, okay, well, if they see what I've painted and they don't mind the quality, they've seen it, they've touched it, they've looked at it up close. If they're okay with that, then yeah, I'll start charging people money. I mean, never before in my life have I ever done a hobby that turned into a business. Never, never, never. My background, my I went to school for physical and occupational therapy assistant, and I had no hobbies. So this was the first time I hobbied, and then it turned into a business, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, like it that's at that point when like I started a website. I did my research on like pricing and everything like that. I watched Miniacs videos on how to do that.
yeah, that's a
And
good one.
I launched a website and it got international attention. And that was something that I was shocked at. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. So yeah, it's no, I definitely did not have any hobbies before this.
So, do you still take commissions? Is that still part of what you like to
Yes.
do?
Yep. And my whole thing was I wanted to start taking commissions so that I had the opportunity to try to paint a variety of different things without owning them.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest here, people can make quite the collections of plastic over time, and I just didn't want that.
Yeah.
It was like I would love to have a whole giant army of Sylvaneth and of like elves and like I want some Death Guard and I want some Space Marines, but I'm like I don't have anywhere to put that. So if I had the opportunity to paint it whilst getting paid the minimum I think I am worth, if not less, then it's kind of a little bit worth my time and I get the practice and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that was like right at the beginning. I'm like, I was, I think, charging like $3 an hour to paint.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and now I raise my prices a little bit, but it's not much different just because I like the opportunity to engage with people locally and just like I got to paint like Marvel Crisis Protocol and I got to paint Kingdom Death and I got to paint a bunch of different board games and a Thousand Suns army and I was so thrilled about the Thousand Suns army, but I didn't want to keep it because I'll never play it.
Right.
Um, so it was like a super cool opportunity to do that. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like that's been my profession for 7 years.
No,
So
no, that's been
I
your not profession. That's been your profession. Like, don't minimize that. That shit is fucking hard.
Yep, you know what it is. It is sometimes, but like luckily I've got like the best little quadruped of a family, so it's not terrible. But like I'm never gonna go back to like working a 9 to 5 job every
Yeah.
day. Like I'm just not going to because I have the opportunity to do this and bring in some income. I'm like, "Pff, that's good. That's good. And people know what they're gonna get. I have a portfolio and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, it's been really nice for
That's
me
all.
that way. And
How,
using Instagram as a business tool.
right. So how long did it take for you to start taking commissions?
It started really fast. I had a lot of interest really fast.
That was the
So
same
with
for
some of
me.
my first Yeah, some of my first commissions were Zombicide, Massive Darkness, I forget, this other giant board game with like a million characters in it. Dark Souls, another that was one of my first commissions outside of like friends and family was Dark Souls. And it was the Gaping Dragon.
Oh, the
I don't
Gaping
know if you've
Dragon's
ever seen that
great.
model.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, the coolest model ever. And now looking at it, I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back and do it again. It's garbage. But like for your first like big model, like what an incredible experience that was. Like I was just like, he's like, how much do you want? Like I'm like free. Like it's free. Like I
Yeah.
get to paint this, you can have it. Like I'll just do it. It was awesome. It was so great.
Well, and at that point, he can never be mad. Like where you're looking at him
Exactly.
now, you're like, I don't know if I did as good as job. It's like, you know what? He can't be mad.
It was for free.
Yeah, it's for free. My first commission was, I think I had painted my first four models from Kingdom Death, the White
Mm,
Lion, and I think I was starting on my Screaming Antelope, and a buddy was like, "Dude, these are so good. Would you paint Rising Sun for me?" It's like looked up a model or two. I was like, "Yeah, these models are great. Sure." I didn't realize that it was 37 models, and I agreed to
yep.
do it for like $80. And I had no idea. I was just like, "Oh, a couple things, sure, for a friend, and no problem." By the end,
Yeah.
the guy made it like I was like, dude, if you buy me paints and all that stuff, like I'll just do it because I'm practicing and I'm learning. And then
Yeah.
he realized like the amount of time that went in it, and then I realized the amount of time that went in it. It was your
Yeah.
classic first fuck up of like, oops, I shouldn't have done it this way. What I thought was going to be a month of me hanging out and painting my friend's stuff took 6 months. I was like, this is brutal. This is brutal. And I'll still take commissions. Like I'm still open to do that thing now, but I have raised my price considerably because I just don't have the time. And if somebody wants me to stop and paint something, I have to be compensated now. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Like I I I think I could charge more. But I've had such good feedback from customers saying, like your quality, like your quality is tabletop and that's like, fantastic. That's what we want. We would just want to pay someone to paint this stuff. And I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, sure, that's great. But then one of the clients that I had, he's like, do you do anything better than tabletop? And I'm like, yeah, but you'd have to pay for it.
right,
Like this is because I guess I would be considered a very quick painter. Like I'm pretty fast. I
okay,
can hit like 20 figures out in a week
wow,
at tabletop quality. So all the Marvel Crisis Protocol that I painted so far, that's been like a week that
wow,
took me.
okay,
So yeah, so they're paying for speed and decent quality, but it's like, oh yeah, like no, if you want like that the kipping that I did, I sold that. I sold that for 250 USD.
nice,
And and I even feel like I could have charged more.
probably,
And I probably somebody would have bought it. Yep.
yep,
And it's like, well, what do you want from me? And I'll do it.
yeah,
And I can do anything as long as you're willing to pay for it. But it's putting value on my time. It's something that I had to learn as a business, as a small business, I guess, is putting value on my time. And yeah, it's great to be all like, yeah, sure, you can have that for free, or yeah, I'll do your bases just because I like you.
yeah. I'll
And
build
and
all
that's
these things.
fine.
Why
And
not? Yeah.
I know. Oh my gosh, I did that one time. I'm like, yeah, I could build them too. And I'm like, I'm gonna murder somebody. I hate building for a commission.
And you're sitting there like
So I
building
started charging
Malifaux
people.
or something stupid. You're like, ah,
Oh, that's the worst. I was building Kingdom Death,
oh no,
and I
Kingdom
was like,
Death's way
I'm
worse,
never,
way
yeah,
worse. Like
I'm
easily
never
some of
doing
the
it
worst.
again.
Like everybody loves Kingdom Death because it paints up cool because cool painters paint Kingdom Death, but
Yeah,
nobody talks about like how poorly designed they are. There's no
yeah,
instructions to help you get through it. And while you
nope.
can get dynamic poses out of like the generic armor sets that come with the core game, those are
Hmm.
my least favorite things to paint of all time. I will
Yeah.
paint blue Space Marines like at like below tabletop standard before I will like happily take on a commission for the Kingdom Death guys. Like, and that's
Yeah.
like a thing that I think has kind of hurt my like commissions is because like I'm emotionally like if I'm putting my time into this, I'm gonna like, oh no, that one is more. And they're like, you just
Yeah.
painted this huge thing for like $150. It's like, yeah, because I liked it.
Yes. And that's so funny because I feel the same way. So I'm like, like, oh, do you want to take this commission? And I'm like, yeah, because it's cool and I want to paint that. Also, I'll give you a discount if I can paint the bases the way I want it.
Yeah, let
Like,
me do it the way I
you give me
want.
artistic license and you can have a discount.
Well, and that's like it's so hard when people have this idea of what they want their model to be, and it's just like,
Mhm.
yeah, if you want it to look like this guy's thing, ask that guy to do it. Like, but you're talking
Right.
to me, and this is what I like to do,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm offering.
Mhm. But right, and sometimes people they come at you with maybe some expectations that, I can't do that. Like I mean, I could try. Like for example, like non-metallic metal armor. Never I'm not good at non-metallic metal armor at all, but when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, can you I see this pic like they hold up the gold smoke knight in Kingdom Death,
Yeah.
non-metallic metal armor." And you're like, that's really hard. And I remember that guy commissioned me to do that, and I'm like, "I'll give it a try. Like, I'll do my best, and I'll put the hours into it, but it's not gonna look like that picture."
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, that's okay. Sure." I'm like, "And I'm charging you full price,
Yeah, we're
like,
doing this.
because I can't give you a discount on this. This is gonna be hours of paint."
Yeah. Well, and like
Yeah.
the interesting thing about like non-metallic and true metallic metal, like I like painting true metallic. I know a lot of people get like weird and snobby about it, but the truth is like I am not good enough at non-metallic metal to always nail it. Like I have like Cradle here. This is the new thing from Creature Caster. This
Yeah.
one I used true metallic metal on the blade and the weapon. I don't really think there's any. And then on the bigger one, since this is the last of the you know 54 mil judgment models, like I'm going to do non-metallic metal
Yeah.
on this. And like
Mhm.
while I thought that this weapon was going to be really cool, I basically just painted
Yeah.
stone. I thought it was going to be more bronze. It's stone. It looks like stone. And
Yeah.
then this weapon here, the axe, it's like get it at an angle that you can see it. Like it also just looks like a stone axe. I'm like, okay, so I'm not
Yeah.
good at painting metal. I'm good at painting stone. That's all I've got.
The stone looks really good.
Right? Like that's
Yeah,
just
like, it's a really good stone.
and that's so hard. Like that's a hard thing to learn about yourself and to be like accepting of whether or not you are able to do those things and being honest with people because like some people always want to be like, yeah, no, I'll do that. Like I'll take whatever job and I'll do it. Like you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses. And if you're a fast painter and
Absolutely.
like this is what I do, like
Mhm.
I say celebrate that and be proud of it because if people want you to do that, you are making someone's life better and happier because of that. That's
Yeah.
exciting and that's awesome that you
Yeah. But, like, tying it kinda back into the whole Instagram thing, it's like, thank goodness for Instagram where you have people that can be like, "Oh, let's critique this. Let's teach you how or help you out, figure out how to do this non-metallic metal." Or, "Hey guys, here's this picture of this non-metallic metal that I'm trying out. What color am I missing here?" Right? I've done that so many times where I'm like, "You guys, tell me how to fix this. What is this? I need help. Like, what is going on here?" And I've had the most phenomenal feedback from such a variety of talent that taking their suggestions and putting it into something that I understand and what I can execute, it's been absolutely the best um, community building experience for me to have that support system to bolster my drive to actually finish this stupid non-metallic metal. And like Manda from Mystical Unicorn Painting and I, we do that live stream every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And recently we did a Stormcast Eternal. I did an Incanter, and I was like, can we swear on your podcast?
Have you been listening to me this entire time?
Well, okay. So I said, fuck it. I'm gonna do green non-metallic metal armor.
Nice.
And I was like, this is just the stupidest thing. And I was like, whatever, who cares? I'm just gonna try it. But people really rallied around that, and they're like, hey, this is really cool. What a great idea. Can I make a suggestion? I'm like, yes, you may. And then they're like, you need to add some yellows to your greens. And I was like, oh, because I was just going up the green gradient
Right.
from like a dark army green to like a lime green. And they're like, no, 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 you need to add yellow and put some deeper blues in your shadows. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I did that, and it actually worked. It worked so much better. It was really a really great experience to have that Instagram live for people to throw out suggestions on the fly. And I was like, this is why Instagram is such an amazing tool for beginners, for intermediate, and even experts having the opportunity to have your followers reach out to you and say, hey, I love that orange. How did you get that to pop against a yellow background, or whatever?
Right.
And I get so excited about it because I am quite passionate about it, and maybe I've been outwardly as passionate as I normally am or was in the beginning. But like, this is the best part, like you have people all over the world interacting at once, and it's a beautiful thing. And as a tool, when you harness it in the correct way, not being mean, but connecting with like-minded individuals, you're going to get some amazing experiences. And I would have never known to add yellow to my green for non-metallic metal armor.
Well,
So it's
and
fantastic.
those little tricks and things that we can share, and then you can do this in your next piece, and you can share it with someone else. Like the communal knowledge that comes along with social media. Like my wife hates social media at this point. She's just done with it. She doesn't like Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram is the only thing that she uses because she gets to put pictures of her cat up. That's it.
Nice.
And she's not even trying to make the cat famous. He could be famous, but we're just like, it's just our cat. And she just like is not interested in that sort of interaction. And I find like it interesting to see how like people use these tools, because that's what they are. Like
Yeah.
they can be your I think, what is that, the manticle, the thing that like change you to the dungeon wall, the manticles, is that what they're
Yeah.
called? I think
Yep.
so.
Yep. Yeah.
It can be that, but it can also be like a tool of liberation and a
Mhm.
tool of knowledge, and even a weapon of knowledge, because there's so many things that you can do with it, cut through so much nonsense, like
Yeah.
without with like, rally the troops, this is everybody, help me out, what are we doing here, why is this green not working? And the fact that you
Right.
can have
Yeah.
an audience for that is so cool.
Yeah.
So
Oh, for sure.
when Instagram live is a weird thing for me.
Yeah.
and I,
Okay.
and it's because I hate it. I hate it 100%. I hate that it's truncated. You have an hour before like they
Yeah.
kick you off, which actually is probably like 45 minutes too long, because like the format of it like drives me insane. And then when you have two people on the screen and they're squats, and like I'm like, I can't watch this at all. And nobody has
Yeah.
like an extra microphone or something, so it always sounds like weird and boomy and echoey. It's like
Yeah.
I can't handle this. But every single time I see you go live, or anybody else, Warhammer Princess with her Lady Hammer movement that she's doing, and she's like,
Yeah.
500 people watching her do it. I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like, how is this
Yeah.
format doing that? And it perplexes me and entices me at the same time. How have you utilized Instagram Live?
I totally see what you're saying with it. It is it's not ideal in a lot of ways. I like it because it is only an hour. You're going to reach more people because your time slot is shorter.
Sure.
Because it is within an hour that you have to say what you need to say, get what done you need done, and sign off. And
Mhm.
because people just don't have they just don't have 3 or 4 hours to watch a whole stream, right?
Right.
But if you can do it in smaller segments
Well, and you
at a
can't even go like this. It's still like this. So
no,
you're still just looking at your phone
yeah.
like
Oh, I
regular.
know. But at least you can zoom in. You can zoom in
Oh,
so the object that you are painting is in focus.
okay,
So
okay.
we've got that going for us, which is nice. Um, but it reaches those people who want to engage, that don't want to go on Twitch, that don't want to go on YouTube because of the advertisements and things like that. You're gonna reach I think more people in their life, because they can just quickly watch and sign out. They don't have to be sitting at a computer. They're on their phone watching.
Right.
So that's a bonus. I think there are benefits to that. You're not going to have to, get people to sign into something. Well, I guess you have to sign into Instagram, but it's more of an app rather than a computer program that you have to sit at, right?
Sure.
So I like it for that. I like that it's timed. Um, I like yeah, like I use my phone for a lot of things, and because it's art if because it's there, I'm gonna use it. Whereas I'm still kind of figuring out Twitch, and I'm still kind of figuring out YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So my phone's in my hand. I know it better. So it just kind of worked for me.
Sure. And that's really inspiring. I mean, cuz like I got the story I famously tell is that I got affiliate on Twitch using my cell phone, which is true. Besides the last day. The last day I used a computer, but I for the entire month I was using my cell phone, and then finally my webcams came, and I'm like setting it up, and I'm like
Amazing.
I need four more follows, and we're there, and people
Yeah,
like
yeah.
did it. But like you can do it on Twitch with a cell phone and hit a I don't know if it's a broader audience because like does Instagram promote your stream while you're doing it, or is it only to your followers?
It is only to your followers. So I guess you need to have a larger follower base to really to well, and yeah, so let's see the difference. Let's take a little sneaky peek here.
Yeah.
Manda, who I stream with, has about a third of the followers that I have. So when she would host our stream, we would have maybe up to 4 people engaged with the stream. Whereas when I stream on and I host on my Instagram live, we're getting 10 to 12 consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you need a larger follower base to engage? Yes, I think so. When you're going live, but that's not to say the analytics afterwards and how many people watch after the stream is over. I think it's about the same.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
those numbers are actually really good numbers because like um I'm right now in a crisis of religion over Twitch. I don't know if you've heard uh Twitch, if you go to like delete your VOD because say you were playing copywritten music and you don't want to get in trouble later on, so you get rid of it so you don't get in trouble. Um,
Okay.
or say you get a shipment and you open it up on stream and you accidentally show your home address
Oh, okay.
and you want to get rid of it, or
Yeah.
literally any other thing that might get you in trouble with terms of service, um, you delete it because it then goes away. Uh,
Right.
I don't think any of us 100% believe that anything that you delete online goes away for forever because it
Mhm.
doesn't. It
It
lives somewhere, at least for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Twitch stores 100% of your deleted content on a public server that anybody can get to.
Oh, no
Period.
way. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, it's they just figured it out like a week ago.
Oh, no.
And Twitch isn't talking about it. And so
Okay.
I'm sitting here looking at Twitch as this thing that like everybody's like, oh, Twitch, it's the big boy. It's this. Twitch has zero discoverability for new streamers either.
Yeah.
The War Mistress, she just started streaming on Twitch, of
Yeah.
which the first day I went to find her, the War Mistress, that's an
Yeah.
easy name to type. You couldn't
Yeah.
even search her name.
I know. I was doing the same thing because Tanya's like, I'm gonna be doing Twitch, and I'm like, Tanya, this is so exciting. I'm gonna go follow you right now. And she's
Right
like,
now.
okay. And I was literally looking for her, and I'm like, this is baloney.
Yeah.
And I was like so, but then luckily she posted a link, so I followed the link.
That's what I had to
But
do too. I was like, you need to post
yeah,
a link.
yeah, but that's when I launched my Twitch, it was the same thing. Like nobody could find me, and I was like, well, this is dumb. Like I guess I have to post a link in my bio, I guess. So I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and people were telling me that too, and I didn't understand that they meant that they just couldn't search me. Period. And
Yeah.
I have no idea when that turns on when somebody can search you, because you can search me now. Like
Yes.
that's easy. But that's the thing that like everybody's like Twitch has this huge community, but if you aren't part of the community, you might as well be on any other platform. And
Right.
seeing you use Instagram is really inspiring, even though I hate the format. Like
Hmm.
10 to 12 people on Twitch is a good amount of people for like a regular streamer. Like most people don't get that many. It's like 3 or 4, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
YouTube, I have no idea. I'm sitting here looking at YouTube as like, is this the best thing? Because YouTube actually has discoverability. YouTube
Yeah.
lets you delete your stuff. Well, I'm sure they will keep it on a backup hard drive somewhere. They aren't going to use it against you. The and it lives there. Your streams now become this thing that people can, find your content over and over again. And so I'm sitting here like, why are we defending Twitch? Why is this the thing that
Right.
everybody's willing to die on a hill for when like Twitch doesn't give a shit about us? And like especially us like small streamers, we barely even scratch the surface of what Twitch makes. Like and if they aren't
Yeah.
protecting their like streamers with like 50,000 followers, they are not going to protect us. Period. And
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I think that the fault with YouTube is the advertisements.
yeah,
Especially when I watch some painters stream on YouTube, I get really frustrated because there's just it's advertisements constantly. So I think that's the downfall of YouTube. I know like it Instagram doesn't project its live streams to anybody unless you're using hashtags.
right.
That's the crutch of Instagram is these hashtags. You have to know where to look. Um, you have to know which hashtags to use. Otherwise, you're not going to find the content that you're looking for. So I think they each have their faults. I don't think anyone is superior to the other. But unless you're talking like video quality and whatnot, because let's face it, Instagram does not have like any good quality. Their chat sucks. It is brutal.
It's brutal.
But as it is brutal. But for engagement within a specific time frame, I love it because it's so easy to use. There's a button and you're live, and that's it. It's nice because there's no camera settings or anything other than that button. So it has the simplicity of it is I think a bonus in my mind.
Sure. So when you say ads on YouTube, does it like every 30 minutes have an ad pop up while you're streaming?
Yeah. Yeah. There's advertisements before and after the stream. There's advertisement. I guess it depends on the user. Like if they are doing it for monetary uh, gains or whatnot, I think they have it set up so that advertisements run at certain intervals throughout their
Mm.
live stream. It sucks. I hate it so much.
It's very weird. So like I pay for YouTube because I use YouTube more than anything. Like
Mhm.
I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have
Yeah.
HBO. I watch and so YouTube to me is one of the like most important subscriptions that I have. Therefore, I don't get ads. It's brilliant. I'm like I don't see it. I don't know what new movies are coming out because I don't know what drugs are new. I don't know what
Yeah.
cars are popular. I don't know what esports thing that people are watching. Like I have no idea because like I don't like being advertised to. I like being in control of the content, and YouTube is worth it. Like the content that's made there is worth supporting because like you can use ad blockers to block that stuff, but
Yeah.
like YouTube knows if you're using ad blockers and the people that you are supporting no longer get that ad revenue. Like they are
Right.
removed that's removed from their pool of money that they could be making. Where
Right.
if you like say you're subscribing to a streamer on Twitch, it's $5 a month or $6 a month. That's the price of a YouTube subscription. So like
Mhm.
you could do that one time instead of like supporting like the three streamers that you like to watch on Twitch and get like unbridled content. Like
Yeah.
it's this weird like shift. There's got to be like we're looking at it like this and we need to tip the box up on its end and be like, "Oh,
Right.
this makes a lot more sense." So,
Yeah.
like YouTube as a platform, while it is missing a lot of things that big streamers like raids into, one of my favorite things is when you're on Twitch and you have like the other day I had 45 people and that was awesome. I'm sitting here like
That's
45 people.
awesome.
This is great. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take this audience and I have some friends that are doing a charity stream and I'm going to put this audience in their charity stream. And of
Yeah.
which like when they started there was 3 people in the room. Now they have 48 people in the room. And
Yeah.
like that is an amazing feeling that only happens on Twitch. And that's the thing that I'm like, is this like violation of privacy worth the trade? I don't know. Like
Right.
I don't know.
That's I know, and it's like if you have the choice. I mean, obviously our privacy is violated behind closed doors every which way. So
Yeah,
it's like if you're aware of it, can you do something about it? Should you do like do you really care at
right.
that point? Because you know, like somebody's selling your phone number to or your email to spam, put some junk email in your folder. So it's being done regardless. It's just how much do you care?
Yeah, that's like the really hard aspect of content creation where like you have to wonder when your ideology gets in the way of your content. And I have to ask myself that now like because like I'm actually thinking I need to do Instagram live once a week. Maybe only for like 10 minutes. Maybe do it like how Tanya does it and just be like, this is the recap of my day. I had an old guy yell at me, so I yelled at him. It was pretty funny. Like, like I feel like I'm underutilizing the tools on Instagram. I don't know if there's
Right.
anything like that on Facebook, to be completely honest. Like, Facebook is one of those things that
You can do
I just,
Facebook Lives. You can do Facebook Lives.
yeah, but
It's the same thing though.
I do Facebook Lives because, like, I don't have an audience there. Like, right
No, I
now, and especially with like the election here in the states, like we ruined Facebook for everybody in the world, and I'm very sorry
don't.
about that.
I will accept your apology because we still are getting so much crap on Facebook from the United States.
It's so bad right now, and it's not going away. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, Facebook I think is not as trendy or as utilized as it used to be. You know, Instagram is still doing its thing, but it's not nearly as popular as it was. It's still chugging along. It's got a few years left, I think,
Okay.
until the next thing comes out, which I'm sure is going to be sometime soon. I mean, there is Snapchat and TikTok and all that kind of stuff.
It's neither of those things because Snapchat's almost gone as far as I can
Yeah,
tell, and
yeah.
TikTok is awful. I
Well, yeah, and if it gets banned in the United States, or is that issue drop now?
don't know. Like Donald Trump's on his own thing. Nobody knows what's going on there.
Oh man. But like as for like I think in the future we are going to be seeing more platforms like Twitch,
Okay.
newer ones. I honestly do because I think you're speaking a lot of people's inner thoughts when you say, well, I don't if I want to delete a video, I want it gone. Like I want more control over the things that I put out. And I think you're going to see more of those things. I think you're going to be seeing Yeah, more streaming platforms. I think this whole COVID issue has really launched streams into the spotlight of instant content, engagement with an audience, sense of community. Yeah, Twitch, it nailed it on the head on that one. And I think a lot of people got excited about that. I was watching a bunch of video game streamers early COVID, and I was like, this is so great. And like, you just are so happy to watch people play video games. And
Yeah.
that just was awesome. I think yeah, like going forward, be prepared to see more streaming websites and different things like that, or even website creation with streaming capabilities and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's the next thing, the next big thing.
That's a really interesting idea because like um Patreon hasn't done anything like that. Like they basically if you want to do anything on Patreon, you have to do it off the website and I'm like, what you guys doing? You could be like really raking it in if you actually gave like, places to store videos, to do streams, to do things, like and like a lot of people joke about like OnlyFans and stuff like that because I believe OnlyFans allows you to do that and like how come a place where you can go look at some like boobies and butts like
Yeah.
has better things than a place where like artists can be paid like
Just the other day, I had a comment in my inbox on Instagram. They're like, I'm just really happy you don't advertise for OnlyFans. I'm like, nope, I don't do OnlyFans, but all the power to the ladies that do and gentlemen that do. Like super supportive of them. No
right.
problems here, but nope, don't do OnlyFans, so you're good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's and I kind of get that. Like it always sucks when like you're going to like Instagram for a certain thing and you find these people and you're like, oh, this is so cool, and then all of a sudden like your lizard brain gets turned on. You're like, it shouldn't be turned on while looking at minis, but like it's part of this now. And you're like, and so I kind of get it, but also like I don't care. I'm like really happy that people can capitalize on the things that make them happy. And I'm
Yep.
glad that they can do it and express themselves in a safe way. So I don't
Awesome.
understand why anybody has a problem with it.
No, I know, and it's like if you flex your muscle enough, you can just literally
Just,
just give it one more go,
oh,
and you're
hey,
past
there's
it.
something
You're past
new.
it already. You don't need to comment. You don't need to message that person. You're past it. Move on.
Right? So do you do Patreon or anything like that?
No, I have nothing valuable to add to Patreon. You know what? I was like, I considered it, but the amount of content that I was already putting out on Instagram, I thought if I had to create more content and put that on a Patreon subscription and have people pay for that, the responsibility is just way too heavy. And I'm just like, there are people more talented than me. You need to go find those people. Please do. My content is free. It's free. My whatever I put out there is because I love you and I want to share my passion and hobby with you. That's what's for you. It's free. I that's and it will be. The only thing that I do have is a Ko-fi account or a coffee account. And that was because I had people asking me to send me gifts and I said no. That's not appropriate. But I
Good
have a
for
hobby
you.
goal. I needed to, yeah, I needed to get more paint. I was running out of paint. All of my paint was drying up. So I started a coffee Ko-fi account and I said, if you want to give me a gift, buy me a coffee so that I can put it towards a new set of paint so that I can keep doing this longer. Otherwise, I'll have to go get a job
Right.
and I won't be doing this anymore. And so that's the only thing that I have done for money,
Sure.
and it's purely by donation. I update it every once in a while. It gets a little bit more personal because sometimes I don't want to get too personal on Instagram because it is a business account.
Sure.
Um, and so Kofi, sometimes I'm like, oh, this day sucks. I hate this paint job, and I'm more complainy and probably a little bit more Not real, but like probably just speak a little bit more without a filter on
Yeah.
Kofi. So because I don't know, why not? Because how else am I going to get you to go to Kofi if it's not anything different than Instagram?
Well, and like, so I'm the same way with my Patreon. Like, I am very honest with my Patreons because if you can't be blunt and vulnerable with people who are giving you money because they believe in you, like, who can you be?
Mm,
Like, you know,
yeah.
they're the people who want to help you get to that next level, especially at this ground floor. And so,
Hmm.
to me, I'm like, what brought you to me, and am I betraying that trust? Because if my core Patreons are like getting turned off by content that I'm doing, and they don't believe in the direction, and you know, like if they were just like, we don't want you to do, you know, YouTube videos, I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna do YouTube videos. Sorry.
Yeah.
um, but like, you know, if they had something that was just like, this means a lot. It means a lot to me because they're the people who've actually put forth, you know, the effort. Um, you know, for people like you, it's interesting. And you know, a buddy of mine shared a Patreon with me because like nobody wants to make extra content. I totally get it. I hate it. And like I tell my Patreons like I just finally got merch, and I'm like, that's what you're good, like if you give me X amount of dollars, you can get
Yeah.
discounts on Hobby Time and the Murder Basement merch. You like that? That's
Awesome.
a thing that happens. But that's all I'm gonna do because like I don't have time to do extra stuff. Um
Right.
and that's something that's really hard because I want to give more. Like also like I just literally can't. Um,
Yeah.
but for people like you who aren't wanting to do the extra thing, but also are still doing commissions, my buddy shared me this Patreon where it's like, you know, the normal tiers, 5, 10, $25.
Yeah.
But at $25 or maybe $5, all of the things were basically layaways for commissions. So like you are saving up to get something painted later. So like say I don't have $100 to get this model painted this month, but over the course of 4 months I then can do it. You
Yeah.
have like income coming in. It can be an
Hmm.
engine. You just have to think of the platform different because everybody thinks of it as a way of like, get your extended podcast interviews here, get your, you know,
Right.
like, you know, Vimeo, like it all feels a little sleazy where like
Right.
I'm like you, I want the content to be free. I'll give it to you early. But
Yeah.
like I want people to get this. Um
Yeah.
but like using it as like a storefront, when he showed me that, like I've talked to a couple other painters about it, and they're like, I had never even considered that. I'm like,
No,
me either, and that's
that's
brilliant.
smart.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant because it does like it keeps track of all of it, so you can
Right.
tell how much like they have, and it's very easy to be like, you got enough to do a model. Let's do a model this month.
Oh, nice. Yes. Yes. I like that idea a lot. A lot, a lot. Huh.
It's weird.
There
It's a
you
weird
go.
one. I'm putting this out into the universe
Mhm.
for free because I want us as a hobby to grow and elevate, and I want
Mhm.
people who, the things that are getting in the way, you know, cash. Cash is it, like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, like I'm sitting here looking at all this, like I've got a bunch of creature caster stuff around me right now. I'm like, oh my god, it's embarrassing. I got so much of it. But like all that stuff costs money, and you
Yeah.
have to like make sure that you are, you know, not just, you can't just always build a business on from your own dime, and
Yeah.
sometimes like it needs to start generating its own thing to get you to the next place. Buy a new airbrush, buy a new chair, buy new lights, like decide to make videos and you need a better camera. It's like
Yeah.
these are all things that are part of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. No, that's a great model of yeah, because then you would be able to paint a bunch of different things and you'd have people that are subscribing to you, you'd have your name, you'd have all of that. That would work really well.
And you
All
wouldn't
right, well,
have
I'm
to
gonna tuck that little gem away.
put it there,
Yeah.
and like it's all just, you know, at that point people can support you because you are entertaining them, whether or not
Mhm.
you know it. Your Instagram has value, and
Mhm.
something like Patreon allows people to give you monetary turn to it. That's unbelievable. Like it's an unbelievable relationship that's there for us.
It's
Never
so
been there
funny though,
before.
I never considered like the Instagram to be something that people would want to give back to me because it's just me putting it out into the world, right? Like I'm just happy to be here. I like you and I like what you do and hey, you want some help here? I'll help you. Like so you put a lot out of it and especially earlier when we were talking about the trajectory of followers, it's slowed down a lot for me in the last month because I haven't been putting myself out there as much because I've just been busy,
Right.
like with life. And it's been interesting to see, when I'm really engaged with the Instagram and the streaming and this, and I've got all the balls in the air, it skyrockets. The engagement, the followers, like my YouTube channel has 411 subscribers. And I'm like, what are y'all watching? Because I'm certainly not putting anything out. Like, thanks. I appreciate you, but I'm not putting
I'm
anything out
doing
there right
anything
now.
here. I'm not
But
using this.
why are you watching this? Um, it's so interesting to think that like well, I guess for me, when I subscribe to people's Patreons because I'm like I like you kind of feel like you're part of a club and you're helping that person out and it makes you feel good. I actually just never thought of that for myself until this moment, and I'm like, huh, I wonder if my content has monetary value. That's very interesting.
Literally everything you do online has monetary value.
Mm-hmm.
You click like
Mm-hmm.
on a photo, that feeds an algorithm machine that says, you know what? Courtney really likes this top. We're going to show her more tops. And so they're going to take ad money from these
Yeah,
people to put stuff in your face for you to say, yeah, I'm going to buy that. That is,
yeah,
you are not getting paid for your persona online. Like all
yeah.
those things, all that like positive energy that you're putting out there, it's the same thing, and
Mhm.
you're feeding other people's machines, but you aren't also capitalizing on it. And
Right.
and maybe there's an argument to say that, well, there's too many Patreon, there's too many Ko-fis, and there's too much of this shit. But also, like, no, like, nobody gets to tell you what to put a value on your content. And the idea of there's too much and it's oversaturated comes from like the mentality of poverty. Like there's only so much to go around. Like
Right.
people pay Alfonso Heraldez Banshee. They pay him like $10,000 to paint shit. Like
Yeah.
tiny things. Like,
Hmm.
Banshee, paint this for me. Okay, 10 grand.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that there isn't like this well is deep and full of water. We haven't even scratched the surface of it. And I'm not wanting to be like gross and like let's like totally mine this thing for value, but like
Yeah.
there is a world here that has room for more of us, and there's
Hmm.
more to go around, and it's constantly growing, and it's constantly growing because of platforms like Instagram. Everybody
Hmm.
talks about Twitch being this big thing. Twitch doesn't get you more followers. Instagram gets you more followers. Like
Right.
that's the thing that gets people there.
That's almost like how you engage people is like you do your stream on Twitch, but you are talking to people on Instagram. You're
Right.
getting DMs on Instagram. You're
Right.
getting companies calling you on Instagram.
Hell yeah.
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 Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
We've kind of gone over our hour, but one of
Oh,
like my
sorry.
no worries. Like I feel bad because like I'm sure you have that cool PS5 to get to that I'm very envious about.
We saved our bottle money for that one.
That's right. That's right.
I drink a lot of sparkling water.
I live in a state. Missouri is like one of the worst in the United States. I feel like my presence here is helping making it better.
Good.
So that's like the way
Agreed.
I justify staying in a place that it doesn't have a bottle deposit. And when I tell people that like out in Oregon, we had a bottle deposit and I was so broke that I would take dates to movies on like bottle money and things like that. And be like, you want to go see the new Jay and Silent Bob movie? I'm like throwing cans in all day. I was like, I got my $23.
You're good. No, we got 2386. We're good to go.
The best. Uh,
Yeah.
one of my favorite things that I like to ask us content creators, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? You obviously see this as a business. Take it very
Mhm.
seriously. It's fun. It's still cool. It's like it's not all the weird, awful things that you are afraid of. What do you see for yourself? What do you want this to be?
When I started when I decided that this was gonna be my business, my thing, my hobby, my biggest dream for myself and for Figuratively Speaking Minis is to become such a life force of hobby positivity and inclusivity. I would love to take that worldwide. I used to teach classes before COVID, and they were just beginner classes, but the passion that I have for bringing any budget, any person to the table with a paintbrush in their hand, that's my goal. I want to cultivate this movement of inclusivity at any budget, at any person of any kind, of any color, blah 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 blah. And I want to go worldwide with it. I want to say, hey, you want to paint? I'm going to teach you. You don't think that's good enough? That's okay. We're going to do it again. No, a judgment free zone. I want to go to all the cons. I want to meet all the people. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Warhammer World. And I want to say, hi, I'm Courtney from Figuratively Speaking Minis. And I am here to inspire you, hopefully, to get you involved in this hobby. And I want you to be here and I want you to be happy to be here. And that's my goal from the beginning. I just want to share my passion and how this hobby has benefited me personally to everybody, because it was a life changer. It was life changing, and I just want to spread it around. I want to just push it out to everybody in all of the corners and keep going with it. That's my goal.
That's so awesome. I really appreciate like the altruistic name because it does feel especially right now it feels so hostile and like lonely and not as positive as it should be in the hobby. And while I feel like I keep on finding these wells of like cool positive energy, like
Mm,
you also realize that there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of heaviness that goes along with it. People
yeah,
are going like the mental health aspect of this hobby is so like important to look at, and anything that you can do to bring the positivity to it, like and it's just so important,
right.
absolutely important. I think that's why I
And
was instantly drawn to you, because I was like, she gets it. She gets exactly
and
what this is about.
it's not, life is not all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not, well, let's just put on a happy face and everything will be okay. No, that's not life. That's not how this works. But when you can find joy in a small thing, and if it's maybe just painting a sword exactly the way you wanted it to be, that joy will be enough to get you through to the next day. It's maybe small, but it's there, and it's something that is buildable. It's something that is malleable, and with the right encouragement and with those small victories every day, like that's the goal, is taking people out of hopelessness and despair or self-deprecation and all that kind of stuff, and building them up and finding them their passion in what they want to do, what they want to achieve, and it's encouraging it, it's fostering it. And that's what I want to do, because that's what this hobby did for me at my lowest points. It just it was amazing, and the community is when it's at its best, it's a beautiful beautiful
An
thing,
amazing
and we
place.
need to do more of that.
When it's
So
at
that's
its
the goal.
worst, it's no worse than any other place. So like I mean like that's the thing, like it's actually still pretty cool because everybody's still doing cool things, but like probably like being in the music industry, like that's the worst. Try being in film, that's
No,
the worst.
the only singing I'll do for you is I'll just sing you a little intro song. It's Heath's in the Hobby Murder Basement.
I
There you
love it.
go.
I love it. Courtney, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with me this evening. I really, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you for being part of this hobby. It's really special, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I was so excited to finally do this with you, and I'm just so pleased. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for making it through another episode of Hobby Time in the Murder Basement. I really appreciate your support. If you'd like to continue the support in other ways, I do have a Patreon. The link is down below. Proceeds from that will go to pay for new equipment, subscription fees if I need it, and graphic design stuff. I'd like to help build this channel. So any of your support is, while never necessary, is always appreciated. If you want to see more hobby stuff, you can head on over to Twitch. I generally stream on Sundays at noon. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.